It may be the creepiest episode ever on The Dating Game, because this bachelor looking for love back in 1978 is actually a serial killer.
I'm called the Banana, and I look really good.
No one had any idea that Rodney Alcala had already launched his killing spree when he appeared on the popular dating show.
He was a real creepy guy, a real idiot.
Jed Mills was bachelor number 2, and nearly 40 years later, he's still haunted by their encounter.
This creep comes up and he puts his face practically in my face and he says, "I always get the girl." When I think about what he said, "I always get my girl," he kills him. That's what he's talking about.
What's your best time?
The best time is at nighttime.
Despite Alcala's weird behavior on the dating game, the Bachelorette chose him, but never went on the date because she reportedly found him creepy. Lucky for her, because Alcala would later be found guilty of 7 murders. Investigators believe he may have actually killed up to 130 victims based on photos found on his property.
Ever
It
heard
may
of Rodney
be the
Alcala,
creepiest episode
charming
ever on the dating
photographer
game,
who in
because this
1978
bachelor
went
looking
on
for
the
love back
dating
in
game and won a
1978
date.
is
But
actually
what no
a
one knew
serial
was he
killer.
was hiding
I'm
a
called
terrifying
the Banana, and I
Alcala
look
wasn't
really
just
good.
a contestant. He was a serial
No
killer
one
with a
had
twisted
any
double
idea
life.
that Rodney
Between
Alcala had already
1971 and
launched his killing spree when
1979, he was
appeared on
linked to the
popular
brutal
dating
murders
show.
of
He
at
was
least
a real
5 women,
creepy guy,
though
a
some
real
investigators
Jed
believe
Mills
the true
was
number
bachelor
could be
number
over
2,
100.
and nearly 40 years later,
What made him so
he's still
dangerous?
haunted by their
Alcala
encounter.
was charismatic
creep
and used his
comes up and
talents
he
as a
puts his
photographer
face
to lure
practically in my
women,
face and he
especially
says,
young women
"I
and
always
teens.
get."
He'd approach them,
When I think
offer
about
to take
what
their
he said,
photos, and
"I
that's how
always
he
get
trapped
my
his
girl."
victims.
He kills him.
After his arrest,
That's what he's
hundreds
talking
of
about.
photographs
What's
of
your
unidentified
best
women and
time?
children were found in his
The
possession.
best time
To
is
this
at
day, many of these
nighttime.
people remain
Despite
unidentified,
Alcala's
raising
weird
chilling
behavior on
questions.
the dating game, the
Rodney
Bachelorette
Alcala
chose
was
him,
finally
but never
convicted
went on
and
the date
sentenced to
because
death
she
in
reportedly found
1980,
him creepy.
though he would
Lucky
appeal
for
multiple
her,
times.
because Alcala would later
With
be
each
found
appeal,
guilty of
more
7
horrific
murders.
evidence came to light.
Investigators believe
Ever
he may
heard
have
of
actually
Rodney
killed up to
Alcala, the charming
130
photographer
victims
who,
based
in
on photos
1978,
found on his
went
property.
on the
Photos taken before disaster. This woman didn't know she was posing for her last photo. Let's enhance it. She was unknowingly sitting in the lap of Serial K, or Rodney Alcala. The look in his eyes is absolutely chilling. But more disturbingly, this woman was never identified nor seen again.
Photos taken before disaster. This woman didn't know she was posing for her last photograph. Let's enhance it with Photo app. Christine Thornton disappeared in 1977, and no one knew what had happened to her until they found this picture among the batch of photographs taken by Rodney Alcala. Her family was finally able to know the truth, and her remains were found in 1982 in the same spot where this photo was.
This is the real-life story of a serial killer who went on a dating show. Rodney Alcala had murdered at least 5 women before appearing on the show, and he actually won a date with the leading lady. Just like in Anna Kendrick's Woman of the Hour, Cheryl Bradshaw sat in front of a live studio audience listening to the 3 bachelors sitting on the other side of the screen. Based on their answers, she chose the man that the world would soon know as Rodney Alcala, the dating game killer. He had already been arrested and was on the FBI's most wanted list before he appeared on the show. And these crimes included the beating and essay of an 8-year-old girl, which he only served 17 months for. Backstage at the dating show, the strange aura around Rodney Alcala didn't go unnoticed. He almost didn't even get cast because one of the producers thought he was creepy. And even one of his competitors told 2020 that he thought he was creepy and didn't want to be anywhere near him. And like in the movie, Alcala did say while sitting in the green room, quote, "I always get the girl." In the movie, she agrees to go to a bar with Rodney Alcala after taping, But in real life, the real Cheryl Bradshaw says she was so put off by him, she asked the producers if she had to go on the date. She told the show's coordinator that he had weird vibes and she didn't feel comfortable around him. And the show was fine with Cheryl not following through on the date because they'd already filmed and had all the footage they needed. The show did not do a background check on the contestants because he had a record, which I guess is part of the beauty of the invention of the internet and the creation of the offender registry. Luckily, Cheryl Bradshaw eventually moved out of LA, settled down, and had a family. And Rodney Alcala died in prison. If you thought this video was interesting, follow for more.
We've gone through a lot of hell because of that animal. A lot of hell.
Today, in a 5-1 decision, the California State Supreme Court ruled that Rodney Alcala did not receive a fair trial.
There's been a gross miscarriage of justice for being found guilty of something that I didn't do.
Will Rodney Alcala ever be put to death in your estimation? Not if I can have anything to do with it.
Just can't believe that we have to be punished for what he did. He's got nothing to do but gain.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Rodney James Alcala, guilty of the crime of felony.
Death. That's the only penalty that could ever be rendered in a case such as this.
The second time he was found guilty, and he got the death penalty again, and we were extremely happy.
But in 2001, in the most unlikely turn of events, Rodney's death penalty is again overturned, dragging the family back into the horrors of another trial.
Let's talk about the real case that Woman of the Hour, Anna Kendrick's directorial debut that's currently streaming on Netflix, is based on. We're gonna be talking about the contents of the movie, so spoiler warning, obviously. This down here is Rodney Alcala, a real-life American serial killer who in the movie is portrayed by Danielle Zovato. And this down here is Cheryl Bradshaw, who in the 70s was an aspiring actress, and she also worked as an acting teacher. And just like in the movie, Cheryl and Rodney crossed paths on The Dating Game, a dating show which I didn't realize ran from like 1973 all the way up to 2021. Unlike in the movie, in real life he was actually bachelor number 1, and unlike in the movie, some of his answers were so much more menacing if you really think about this, and thankfully Cheryl got a very weird vibe from him, so she didn't actually agree to go on a date with him in real life, which probably saved her life. What is the most jarring in this whole situation is that there was completely no vetting process to be on the game, because at that point Rodney was already linked to multiple murder cases. Rodney was later convicted of murdering at least 5 people before he even appeared on the show. In the end, he was only convicted of killing 6 women and 1 girl, however the total amount of his victims is estimated to be somewhere around 130 or even more. You wanna know the craziest part of it all? The man was sentenced to death 3 times. And he still ended up dying of natural causes. We don't really know what happened to Cheryl, but it is assumed that she just wanted to distance herself from the whole situation, similar to the way Anna Kendrick's character does in the movie. But yeah, if you were wondering what the real life inspiration was for Woman of the Hour, now you know. What did you think about that? Let me know in the comments, let's chat about it, and follow me for more breakdowns.
Would you say hello to Cheryl, please? We're going to have a great time together, Cheryl. Okay, and here we go.
Bachelor number one,
Yes.
what's your best time?
The best time is at night, nighttime,
Why do you say that?
because that's the only time there is.
The only time? What's wrong with morning, afternoon?
Well, they're okay, but nighttime's when it really gets good. Then you're really ready.
I'm a drama teacher, and I'm going to audition each of you for my private class. Bachelor number one. You're a dirty old man. Take it.
Come on, over here.
Oh, honey, we ought to go out and boogie.
Really?
Bachelor number one. I am serving you for dinner.
Oh.
What are you called, and what do you look like?
I'm called the banana, and I look really good.
Can you be a little more descriptive?
Peel me.
Later, Bachelor one. Later.
Welcome back to the dating game, and Cheryl, we have reached the moment of truth, as we call it. You've heard from the bachelors, you got some great dramatic presentations, some good answers, but now I'm going to ask you a question. Will that date be bachelor number one, bachelor number two, or bachelor number three? Who gets the dates?
Well, I like bananas, so I'll take one.
Number one, bachelor number one, all right. Well, there they go. However, you did leave one remaining, and this is your date, and I want to tell you something about him, Cheryl. He's a skydiver, so he's got a lot of nerve. He's into motorcycling. He's also a fine photographer. Say hello to Rodney Alcala. Rodney, come on and say hello. Congratulations, Rod. You did it with a one.
I just watched the movie Woman of the Hour on... Where did I watch this? Netflix. On Netflix. What is that, Mike? Oh, hi, I'm up here now. I'll tell you. It's rated R. It came out in 2024. It's an hour and 29 minutes long. And it is about an aspiring actress crosses paths with a prolific serial killer in 70s Los Angeles when they're cast on an episode of The Dating Game, based on a true story. And as you can see, pretty good reviews. So this is the true story of the dating game killer, otherwise known as Rodney Alcala. This is the actor who portrays him in the film. It is not a 100% accurate interpretation of the story. For example, Anna Kendrick's character, and by the way, this was Anna Kendrick's directorial debut. She did a fantastic job. So she is obviously, her name is the same name as the actual person who was on the dating game. But they took a lot of liberties in terms of what her background was, and that, you know, she was an actress in this movie, but in reality she wasn't. They changed some of the names of like surviving victims, and I think one or two victims that they do portray, the ones who were killed, I think they changed their names and slightly changed the situations that occurred. Obviously, movies like this, usually, you know, they have to do that. But it does recreate the whole dating game thing. And actually, another thing they changed was that Rodney Alcala was actually Bachelor number one, but in the movie, he was Bachelor number three. And that was for effect, like to the big reveal of who it was. But it was really interesting to kind of see how this, you know, whole thing played out in movie form. And while it did obviously take liberties to change parts of the story, it was still, I think, really, really well done. It's a short movie. It's not, you know, it's not going to take up too much of your time. It does move pretty fast. I mean, this is a drama. Like, if you're looking for like a serial killer horror movie, this is not it. But it is pretty tense. Like, when they show him, you know, with these women, it's disturbing because you have to think, like, for the most part, this is what happened. And you got to think, like, how terrified those women were. And I think this film did a really good job at portraying that tenseness and that fear and that scare, that terror, that horror. Not as good as, say, in my opinion, the best true crime, you know, inspired movie, Zodiac. That movie depicted the crimes in horrifying fashion. Way too realistic. It was nauseating. But the actor who plays him, he is fantastic. The actor's name, I think, is Daniel Zovato. But yeah, he's unsettling, for sure. He really makes you believe that he is Rodney Alcala. So if you have Netflix, it's on there. It's a good movie. I enjoyed it. And that's, obviously coming from the true crime person. If you didn't know, I tell true crime stories on my other TikTok page where I have a few million followers. So if you like that kind of thing, go over there and follow that page. It's linked in my bio. Shameless plug, sorry. But yeah, I would probably give this movie 7 out of 10. It was a good movie. Yeah, no, I liked it.
He just kind of appeared out of nowhere and grabbed me and threw me into his bedroom.
As Morgan staggers on the bedroom floor, Rod grabs hold of a metal bar and drops it into some brackets on each side of the door, preventing anyone from opening it.
I started to know I was in trouble, and I kept backing up until I was against the wall. I tried to be brave, and I said, you can't keep me here. He just punched me between my eyes as hard as he could.
Rod then takes out a knife and cuts the tie off her neck.
I could feel blood start to flow, and I remember thinking, he cut my neck, I'm gonna die.
With the knife in hand, Rod cuts off the rest of her clothes. As he gets up to take off his own pants, he puts the knife down onto the floor, just out of reach from Morgan.
I could see it next to me, and I kind of fixated on it. I kept thinking, if I can move to where I can get on top of the knife, he can't pick it up and kill me with.
That tragic opening scene of Woman of the Hour was real, and Rodney Alcala did kill a pregnant woman. But her death wasn't even connected to him until 2015. Christine Ruth Thornton embarked on a cross-country road trip with her boyfriend shortly after announcing her pregnancy in spring 1977. The two split up in Biloxi, Mississippi in spring 1977, and this is the last time she was ever heard from. But somehow she was able to make it all the way from Mississippi to Wyoming. Her body was left off Interstate 80 in Granger, Wyoming. Her remains weren't found until 1982, and they were in really bad shape by this time, but police could tell that she had been murdered. And her fetus was at the 6-month mark, so if you do math, you can tell that she was killed in August 1977. Her family said they were initially suspicious that the boyfriend did something. I mean, he left a pregnant woman in the middle of a road trip, so he definitely is a douche. But police had released serial killer Rodney Alcala's camera roll in hopes that people could identify their missing loved ones. And this photo led to her cold case being solved. Her younger sister was looking through Rodney Alcala's camera roll online when she came across this photo. She recognized the woman who looked like her older sister, and her pinky toe was what sealed the deal. Rodney Alcala was charged with this additional cold case murder in 2016. Since he traveled all the way across the United States and it was the 70s and police work wasn't advanced yet, it's hard to know just how many women Rodney Alcala killed. And luckily we have one more family that gets closure and one more person that got justice. If you like true crime, make sure to follow my account. Let me know if you want more videos about Rodney Alcala or Woman of the Hour.
Rodney Alcala, that was my name. Some people knew me as a friendly photographer or the guy who was on the dating game in 1978. I actually won that game by pretending to be something I wasn't. But behind my camera, I had bad intentions. I didn't just take pictures, I captured people's weaknesses. I traveled from sunny Southern California to busy New York, causing fear everywhere I went. Later, the police found lots of my scary pictures, showing potential victims. Many think I harmed more people than I was ever caught for. During the 1970s, when people were all about free love and changing values, I was a scary contradiction, a dangerous person pretending to be friendly and charming.